Make sure to watch part 1 as well as the rest of the series before. A quick recap: Earth is Unicron, his teeth are sticking out of the planet, and Anthony Hopkins is going to tell us a story. Only 2 years into King Arthur's rule, 543 CE, in the land of Camelot, also known as Bernicia, the realm was being invaded by Saxons, and the Britons weren't doing too good. Many of Arthur's knights realize this, but Arthur tries to keep faith. Just a week prior, Arthur sent his stepfather, Merlin the Magister, to seek help for the magical land at that time known as Avalon. But many of his knights realize his other name is Merlin the Drunkard. But we catch up to Merlin as he makes it to what is today known as the Faroe Islands, as he comes across a cave known as Grendel.
Hello! It is I! It is I, Merlin, master of the dark arts! Is anyone there?
All Merlin's yelling awoken what we now know as the Cybertronians within inside. Merlin tries pleading with the Cybertronian known as Grimlock for help, and Grimlock speaking Old Cybertronian, which we remember is actually Welsh, and technically Merlin should also be speaking it, but movies, so he gets to speak English and the audience can be left in the dark for what Grimlock is saying. But essentially, Grimlock says go away. Last time they tried helping anyone, it was a big lie.
I am what they say. I'm a liar, I'm a charlatan. But if I could, for one moment, change this world for the better, I would give up everything. I'd give up drink, money, women. Look, we Britons are in a desperate fight. Good men will die without your help. Women, children. I beg of you.
Grimlock meets with the rest of their companions. There's some discussion, and they decide to combine into Computron and let Merlin ride upon them as they head to the battle, which the Britons are still not doing too great. The knights try holding the line, but Percival is the first one to break and say, "Retreat! Run away! Run away!" But Lancelot says, "Look to the sky! Merlin arrives with great Drake." Now with giant robot dinosaurs that turn into knights that turn into a giant dragon on their side, they're able to take back the battle and send the Saxons into retreat. Merlin is heralded as a hero, and thanks to misspelling and mistranslations, Magister becomes known as Magician. Soon after, the Knights of the Round Table were formed, the Cybertronian Knights returned home, and soon Arthur ruled all of unified England, Ireland, and most of Gaul for just shy of 5 decades, until he was slain in a duel and his 2 daughters tried to hold the realm together. Didn't really work, and it just collapsed, and back in the homeland of Bernia, it fought continuous civil war for 111 or 121 years, until the Saxons came back. Camelot was destroyed, turned into a monastery, destroyed by Vikings, restored, destroyed, restored, and now it's a big tourist trap. But the point is, these Dinobots were there at the founding of the Round Table. The Round Table is Stonehenge, which the Dinobots built in the center of the mouth of Unicron. And supposedly, with the energy of a Cybertronian, it can be activated and used to communicate to Unicron. So now they come up with a plan. They have to go find the Dinobots, Sludge, Slug, Swoop, Scorn, Grimlock, and Snarl, who are all over the UK, and bring them to Stonehenge. So they decide to split up into some groups. They try contacting base, but they don't get a response. So they decide to send another team out there. Wheeljack uses an experimental portable ground bridge, which just sends them to Flagstaff instead. Then we get a bunch of the Autobots looking for the Dinobots, and they find out that they're absolutely massive. But luckily, Wheeljack has been experimenting again with new combiner power chords, with the aerial bots becoming Superion, and he fights Slug, and the Stunticons become a Menasor, and they fight Snarl, and they call him a Slag, which the UK audience will understand. Optimus realizes they keep yelling Prime, so they're looking for Optimus, because if they're working for Unicron, that means they're trying to kill Optimus because he has the energies of the 12 primes within him. So the new plan is for the Autobots to project images of Optimus and just have them chase them to Stonehenge. Meanwhile, the others, they're kind of mad that the teleporter sent them so far away. They just transform. All the humans tag with B. Trax tries hitting on Moonracer, saying that he loves her paint job. And Hot Rod says, "Race everyone to base," and he starts blaring Point of Authority by Linkin Park, and as everyone starts accelerating away, Bulkhead and Windblade are annoyed by this, but then Windblade starts accelerating faster to get up with them. Bulkhead has a damn kids moment. Bumblebee tells him to calm down because this is probably the only time they've ever actually had fun. They were built during the war and they never knew peace, so just let them have it. But then they come across an anti-transform protest and we see some of the kids from earlier participating there. Windblade laughs as she's a flyer and just flies over everyone. Hot Rod yells out damn, and Trax is like, alright guys, just play cool. And they activate their driver holograms, and despite Trax being played by Steve Buscemi, he projects himself to look like Raoul from G1. They're trying to act all casual stuff like, oh, it's just alright, we're just passing through, we're not robots in disguise. RC thinks Trax looks ridiculous, and Trax like, whatever, I think I look good. The Moonracer agrees. With Windblade, she picks up some video from the base, and she shares it with everyone.
It always ends the same way. After the torture, I rouse them with a spot of music, and then whisper them to death. That's the routine. That's what people have come to expect. As Voss used to say, the Empyrean Suite, the fourth movement. It's become our leitmotif, or as Helix calls it, our theme song. It's said to have been composed by Eucryphia to celebrate Prima's Citadel of Light, an ode to the Grand Duchies of Cybertron, a paean to the 13 tribes. Still, as Megatron once said to me, even the most debauched and fatuous society can, on occasion, produce something beautiful. Is it beautiful? I used to think so. These days it barely registers. I've played it to death. Enjoying the music.
Everyone's like freaking out, what? As they recognize it's Chromia being tortured. And we see the rest of the people at the base are getting tortured, including Megatron. And they decide to share this with everyone in England. And Lugnut sees that Megatron's being tortured and immediately transforms and flies out to try and rescue him, not realizing that he's in England and Base Metroplex is in Arizona, so that's going to be a 14-hour flight, if not more, especially given that he turns into a big jet. Optimus questions how did they get in, and Arkeville arrives saying it's all thanks to him. And Optimus is freaking out, Ratchet, how could you? And he explains that he's no longer Ratchet, he's Dr. Arkeville. But thanks to his new body, he was able to get into the base, now with his shared memories with Ratchet, to deactivate the shields and defense systems to get everyone in. With only a few casualties on both sides. And we see Cliffjumper getting melted down. We see all the rest of the Decepticons like laughing that they're in the base. Except for Blitzwing, who's just kind of ashamed to be here and walks out of the room. Magnus says that Optimus is selfish for having the power of the 13 within him and refusing to use it to remake the Cosmic Cube and go home and save their people. This is why him and the DJD are going to allow Unicron to awaken and destroy this world, and hopefully you'll actually come to your senses and use your powers for what's right. With Hot Rod questioning who the DJD are, and they cut to Megatron on the torture rack explaining that they were created by him. The Decepticon Justice Division to hunt down any and all Cybertronians, Decepticon, Autobot, whatever, who are trying to go even the most slightly against his old ideologies. Taking code names from the first 5 cities on Cybertron to side with him during the Great War's opening years.
A little propriety, please. Surely even the most boorish Decepticon knows that it's rude to talk with your mouth full. He is alive, Helix, which means you lost your bet. Put his brain back where you found it so he and I can chat. Impressive. Normally, if someone wakes up with his brain in his mouth and sees the people who put it there still standing in front of him, his first instinct is to start chewing. Is there anything you'd like to say before I kill you? Too theatrical? Probably.
Take it off!
What?
Your mask! Take it off! Let me see you. You're a coward, Tarn. All you do is hide. Your real name, your real face. What exactly are you hiding from?
He is not the first to catch me off guard, nor the first to ask me to remove my mask. I don't wear this mask to hide my identity. I don't wear it to unsettle my victims, and I don't wear it in honor of our founder. I wear it for times like this, when I decide against talking someone to death. I wear it so that when I allow the others to have their way with you, when I give them free rein to indulge themselves, no one notices when I close my eyes.
Then Helix cuts her in half. Vox takes off his face and jabs into Jolt's face. Everyone but Megatron are executed and their badges are taken. Bumblebee drops off the humans and no time to waste jumps through the front of the building with everyone else except Moonracer, who stays behind to guard the humans, but then Spike runs off to join the rest. Bulkhead basically pulls a fire alarm to try and get everyone out, but then a bunch of cemetery wind guys start shooting at them. Trax tries shooting in the air to get everyone to escape faster as Hot Rod uses his gravity gun to stop the cemetery wind guys. Blitzwing approaches them saying, "Hold it, I'm on your side." No one really trusts him, and they all aim their weapons at him. Blitzwing tries pleading. They realize that Decepticons are all flawed, especially the DJD, who are doing unspeakable acts, especially siding with Unicron. They still don't really buy it, and Bulkhead very nearly starts shooting, but then Spike runs in and say, hey, if he's willing to actually say this stuff, then he probably actually means it. Why wouldn't he just start blasting us and bring everyone else out here to fight? And we see Steeljaw, the Wrecker's dog, who escaped all of this, walk up to Blitzwing and start just licking his leg. They decide to believe him for now, and they continue. They have to fight off some of the lasers inside, and Spike grabs a blaster. Meanwhile, the others, Sideswipe has Crosshair's line from the original, saying that he hates being the underdog in this situation. Underdog sucks. But Prime says to settle down as the Dinobots approach, and he tries pleading with them, and Scorn tries attacking, but Sludge holds him back, saying, "Me, Sludge, apologize. Unicron own we Dinobots." Grimlock tries saying, "Me, Grimlock owned by no Unicron. Me, Grimlock King." But then he starts feeling intense pain along with the rest, and they start just kind of collapsing. Sideswipe questions why they talk like that, but Jetfire says that's how their language directly translated sounds like. Optimus tries saying why must they serve Unicron, and Swoop, the most well-spoken of them, tries explaining. 60 million years ago on the Grindel, they were flying in space until they heard a stress call coming from Earth. But then they were hit with a big wave of energy and crashed. Their ship became known as the Faroe Islands. They did their thing with Merlin, and they came across the Standing Stones, setting them back up a little and activating the Middle Stone, and they were talking to Unicron, using his mind powers to cause severe pain to Grimlock, their leader. Because they defeated him in combat, that means they must serve him now. They were sent to Africa to deal with a Prime there, but they ended up escaping using pieces from the Grindel, which fell off in there. So they were sent back to the Grindel to await their next command, as Unicron ran into deep slumber to gain strength back. Which leads us to today. And Optimus tells them that the legendary warriors have to make a decision. They must join forces or else be the slaves of Unicron, either with him or against him. They want to support him, but then they start feeling pain, and Grimlock yells, "Trial by combat," because he's played by Peter Dinklage, saying that if anyone can beat Grimlock, they'll be their new king. Meanwhile, the others, they make it to where the Decepticons are, but most of them ground bridge away, leaving Soundwave, Arkeville, Longhaul, and Kaon. Kaon recognizes Drift as Downshift, which he says it's Drift now. Downshift was another life he would rather forget about, which Kaon says that's the problem he must be punished for. Drift tries attacking Kaon and the rest go after Longhaul, but Soundwave, using his sonic blasting, pins everyone against the wall, except for B, who starts fighting Arkeville, who we can see is now using Cliffjumper's blasters in his hand. But then Kaon pulls him away and starts fighting, and they're practically just wrestling as Arkeville tries stepping in on Spike. Meanwhile, the others, Optimus is fighting Grimlock, and we definitely get an extended version of this fight. Grimlock goes Dino mode and tries breathing fire. Meanwhile, the rest of the cons arrive on the scene, with Warpath holding Megatron. They try squaring up, but then giant earthquakes happen, And we see the volcanoes fully form into Unicron's teeth, and a bunch of separating land starts happening. And conveniently, the combiners fail and they fall apart. But the earthquakes actually benefit a few people, causing Grimlock to be unsure what's going on, having Optimus punch him in the face, taking him down, saying that he thought he was made out of sterner stuff. And he hops on his back. Soundwave shakes with the earthquakes, causing him to stop using his sound blasting for a second, which gives the group enough time for Blitzwing to blast him in the back. And when Soundwave was down, Bulkhead takes out one of his guns and blasts him in the face. Then they go fight Long Haul. Kaon nearly kills B, but then Windblade comes out and stabs Kaon in the back. Spike's running and hiding and fighting the Cemetery Wind guys, as Arkeville tries saying that this is all his fault, thanking him for leading to others finding out about him and helping him ascend to godhood, but also cursing him for what happened in Chicago and stopping the Decepticons. Unicron is the one true god of this reality, and him awakening to destroy this world is because of you. And Spike yells, that barely even makes sense, as he starts fighting Savoy, but Savoy actually starts choking him out, and he nearly dies, until Lennox and Carly appear, and pull him away and shove him away as Arkeville steps on him. And Arkeville's like, ha, found you guys. And he tries blasting them, but then the rest show up and start blasting him, with Bulkhead and Bumblebee blasting his legs off, Drift cutting his arms off, Spike crawling up onto him, with Lennox tossing a gun to him. His Trax rips his chest open, revealing Arkeville, with Spike saying, you shouldn't mess with my friends, and sometimes dead is better. Meanwhile, with the others, Warpath takes out Mixmaster, and Starscream laughs, that's what you get, traitors. But Slipstream says, you're one to say. Or heck, I'm one to say. And she blasts Starscream's wings, causing him to crash on top of Warpath. He tosses Starscream off, just as he gets squashed by Slug. Optimus on Grimlock tells Magnus, on this day, one shall stand and one shall fall. They start fighting, and Magnus gets his arm bit off. And Optimus jumps off. And him and Jetfire start beating up Magnus, and Grimlock goes for Tarn and starts pummeling him. They have one, Sideswipe and Springer are fighting Voss, and they actually manage to KO him. Tetsuris takes out Stratosphere's legs, easily tosses Cup into Wheeljack, and yells that someone give him a real fight. But then Megatron yells out, enough!
I won. Finally, after 5 million years of fighting myself, I'd won. I was prepared to accept my fate. I was at peace. I was happy. And then you came along and ruined everything! Mark this day, Tarn. It's the day the dream dies. I'm shutting you down. Voss!
He grabs Voss and says that he was the one who taught Tarn how to speak someone's spark to death.
No, not Voss. Not anymore. Today, you die by your birth names. Starting with you. Forstalk. Scissorsaw. Crucible. Please, be reasonable.
Megatron replies with, reasonable? That's rich. You're the bot who continued my ideology despite me personally denouncing it. You're the bot who continued torturing and killing people despite the war being over by my own admission. And you decided to side with Unicron because you needed something to do. You like to think you're never wrong. You like to think you're someone. You want everyone to hurt like you? Well, newsflash. I hurt way more than everyone on this planet for what I have done. Well, I forfeit the game.
Do it then. Do it! At least I'll die a Decepticon! Oh. Goodbye, Glitch. I want you to die with one thought in your head. Everything you did was for nothing.
But then the earthquakes start happening again, and Optimus yells, no more bloodshed. We have to speak with Unicron. And they activate Stonehenge, and one of the stones becomes Unicron's face.
Follower of Primus, Unicron, the Chaos Bringer.
And then one of the standing stones becomes Unicron's likeness.
I humbly request your ear, Lord Unicron.
Everyone's like, what? What's he doing?
I make this appeal for this planet which you constitute, and the beings who inhabit it. Humankind relies upon you for life. Your resurrection will only result in the destruction of a species which evolved from the seeds of your very greatness.
Parasites! They too shall know my wrathful hand.
He starts screaming as the standing stone crumbles, and then we see a bunch of lights appear from certain corners of the world, and we see out from space that they form Unicron's rings. Everyone's screaming what to do now, as Optimus sighs and looks at Magnus, saying that you were right. He contacts base to tell everyone to get here, and he talks to Jetfire. Everyone arrives, except for comedically Lugnut, who arrives at Base Metroplex just as everyone's gone. He looks around. Spike is with everyone at Stonehenge with Char the Allspark, and Optimus explains that Magnus was right.
My own spark can no longer be separated from the multitude of others within me.
That's what you say when someone kicks the...
To not return the Allspark to the well would be to prevent future generations of new life from existing on Cybertron. My quest must be completed.
B says, you can't go, Prime. We need someone to lead us and guide us. Wheeljack says, we fought so hard in Africa to save you, and you're just gonna leave again? Optimus appreciates everyone's sacrifice, and now it's his time to give back.
But while this may very well mark the end of the Age of Primes, leadership can be earned, and in my view, you have each acted as a Prime. As even Megatron has demonstrated, every sentient being possesses the capacity for change.
He's going to need all the power he can muster, so he combines with Jetfire, giving him all the power of the 12. He gives a little bit of that energy to the Shard, remaking the cube.
Only this of you, fellow Autobots. Keep fighting the noblest of fights.
You can count on us to keep the peace.
He says till all are one, and he flies off, and he enters the North Pole's energy beam. You see Unicron's teeth slowly starting to come together, as You Got the Touch by Stan Bush starts playing, and Unicron realizes what's going on and starts panicking, screaming no, as he slowly gets consumed by blue energy. His rings start fading, his teeth retract back into volcanoes, becoming new mountains all over the world. We see Optimus and Jetfire finally join the 12. We see B with the cube return to Cybertron, saying, on this day, the Great War is finally and truly over, and Cybertron lives again. And Cybertron lights up. They create new protoforms, and first 3 transformers made with sparks in over 300 years are created: Tailgate, Strongarm, and Lightspeed. Even in the cells of Base Metroplex, people are celebrating. Then 4 years later, we see Megatron tending the flowers dedicated to the lives lost due to the DJD, and Carly and Chip are working. When they get an alarm and they hop on B, Wheeljack and Megatron fly through a ground bridge, and we head to Chicago, which is all futuristic, fully repaired by Cybertronians. Computron flies by, everyone else is hanging out in a park, and they meet up. And Spike is with Daniel, and we see the Prez and the Vice President, who makes sense if you follow the timeline, kind of, presenting a memorial to Optimus and Jetfire, who saved the world and the universe. Everyone's like cheering and clapping, and Wheeljack yells, "Till all are one!" And everyone starts chanting and clapping. And Simmons says, does this mean that Ness no longer needs to exist? And Marissa says, not really. We'll probably just be folded back into Homeland Security. And Simmons says, good, because I really don't want to go back to work at my mother's deli. But downside is I don't know if you date coworkers or not. And Miriam just like kisses him. Everyone else is still like cheering and clapping. And we cut to Cybertron, and there's a whole new generation of Transformers celebrating. And that's how I would rewrite Age of Extinction. This is probably where I'm going to end the Bayverse rewrites. If enough people like this in the first part, I might do an epilogue story, kind of the Last Night rewrite. But as for right now, I think we're done. I love that so many people enjoyed this series and so many people enjoy my videos. And I hope anyone who's new subscribes and watches some more of my channel.